do is I want to talk to you about the communication process, how it works, okay? And then we're going to talk a little bit about our speeches, and then finally I'm going to go over the homework assignments for you. Okay, so we're going to start off with the communication process. And I don't know how many people have already listened to the lecture, but if you have, it'll make a lot more sense. But if not, don't worry about it. Now, your book gives you several different models, and it talks about a lot of different models that exist in communication. However, what I want you to do is to study and understand the model that we're going to talk about today for the communication process and how it works. So the communication, and I did give a handout, so if you have it, you might want to write on it, because I'm going to give you some information about it. Now, the communication process is a two-way process, okay? Meaning that each person is equally responsible for the success of communication. Okay? Each person is equally responsible for the success of communication. Now, communication is dynamic. And what do we mean when we say dynamic? We mean continuous, okay, ongoing. And we show that with a circle. Okay? So that's why we show that circle there. Dynamic, continuous, ongoing. Now, that's important to know, because when we try to identify the elements of the communication process, we have to start somewhere, right? But because this is continuous, we're going to find that there really is no beginning or ending. But in order for us to try to understand this, we're going to start with somewhere, with someone, and it's going to be with our source or speaker. So the communication process starts out with the source or speaker. And this source or speaker has an idea that justifies both listening and speaking. Listening and speaking. And we know everything that we think should not always be said, right? Okay. So you start off with this source who has an idea that justifies both speaking and listening, and that idea is transmitted as a message. Okay? And the message is just the words, the gestures that we use to communicate. Okay? Our message. Words, gestures. All right. Now that message then travels to what we call a channel, or it's also referred to as a medium. This is how the message travels. Okay. through a medium or a channel. So what might you think would be an example of a medium or a channel?
The news.
The
An email.
news, but specifically, how is it traveling?
Television. Televised.
Television, radio, internet,
Email.
right? Yeah. Okay. How else? What other things do you think could be considered?
Newspaper.
A text message.
Text messages, yeah.
Phone call.
Telephone, yes, most definitely.
Emails.
Yeah. Written letter, right?
Conversation.
Yes. Conversation. It be as simple as the air through which it's traveling when two people are talking face to face, right? So the channel or the medium is how the message travels, okay? And it travels to the listener or receiver. Okay. This is generally your audience, right? Now, here's where we were talking before about this continuous process. Because once the source has an idea that justifies both speaking and listening, it's transmitted as a message, which are merely the words and the gestures that we use, and travels through a channel to the receiver. Now, this receiver has some action, right? Which is a response. And now, this listener becomes what? The source. Once they have a response. Now this listener has some type of idea that justifies both speaking and listening, and it's transmitted as a message through a channel, right? Back to the source. Now this response here can be either immediate or it can be delayed. The response can be either immediate, right then and there, or delayed. Okay, immediate is what we call feedback. So that's everything that happens during the speech. What would be some examples of feedback from a response? What do you think? How about clapping?
An,
Right?
an action. Yeah.
Okay.
A reaction
Smiling,
mostly.
frowning. Right? Some people might be bored and not paying attention. Okay. All of these are immediate responses. Okay. What do you think would be a delayed response?
A typed essay.
Okay. Anything that happens long after the speech or the communication has been delivered. So for instance, say we gave a speech on the importance of registering to vote, right? And after the speech, some of your classmates actually went out and registered to vote. That will be an example of a delayed response. It's something that happens long after the communication process occurs. Okay, and then again, that response then goes back to the source. The source then has receives the message, and they can either accept it, they may reject it, they may have to adapt the message for better understanding. And then the process just continues and continues until we say it ends, right? Until we say it ends. And this whole thing occurs in what we call the communication environment. And we show that with those dotted lines. Okay, this is the communication environment. Now, sometimes in communication, oftentimes in communication, we have what we call interference. And we show that like lightning straight through the process. Interference or noise. This happens when there is an interruption in the communication. And there could be numerous reasons why that occurs. Okay. Any questions about this communication process? And it can happen as quickly as me pointing to you or as quickly as me smiling at you and you smiling right back at me. Doesn't have to always be verbal, but it can happen very quickly. Okay. Any questions about the communication process? Again, the book talks about a lot of different processes. Basically, what the author wants you to understand is that it's not just one-dimensional. It occurs, it keeps happening over and over and over, even while someone else may be speaking. Another person may be sending messages through their body, okay, or through some other behavior that, sends a message. The person could close their eyes or roll their eyes. There could be several types of responses to another person. So it's just important for you to know that this is an active, continuous, dynamic process that goes on and on until the participants decide when it's over. And there really is no beginning or ending, and it's continuous until we say it's over. Any questions? Okay, so that being said, I want to talk to you about your speech next week because I'm sure everybody wants to know all about that, right? The speech. This is a couple of things you need to know for you to get off and running with your new speech, with your speech about yourself, self-introduction speech. Now, there are 3 parts to every speech, okay? And those parts are the first part is the introduction. The second part is the body. And the third part is the conclusion. Okay. First part, introduction. Second part, body. Third part is the conclusion. Now, right now would be a good time for you to take out the sample speech outline that I gave. And in it, the second page is what I call a little cheat sheet for you. Okay, it's an outline that you're going to use for your speech. Everybody see that? Now, this is going to be a template. You're not going to write on this. It's not enough space. You're just going to use this as a guide. Okay. All right. So we keep this aside. Now I'm going to tell you what is the basic purpose. And as time goes on, we're going to get more in depth, but this is what you need to know for next week, right? Two functions of the introduction are the first one is you want to gain your audience's attention. And I put in your weekly handouts something called attention getting devices. Everybody have it? It looks like this. Okay. And it tells you varying types of things you can use to gain the audience's attention. Examples, stories, jokes, quotes, analogies, facts, and questions. Okay. All things you can use to gain your audience's attention. The second purpose of the introduction is to preview your message. Okay. Now, the body is basically where we develop our ideas. This is, if you will, what we call the meat of the message. Okay. Here is where we develop our ideas through words and gestures, or as we said with that communication process, the message. All right. And then finally, the conclusion, we want to summarize our ideas. And you'll see in the outline that I gave you, I want you to focus on two areas. Number one is your summary statement, which is generally your central idea, okay, or thematic statement. You'll see here, it says thematic statement right at the top, attention getting material, and then you're going to write your thematic statement, the purpose. What are you talking about? What do you want us to know? Okay, now I'm going to give you your topics for this speech. But before I do that, I also want to tell you about the concluding remarks. You want to also add something here, concluding remarks. Okay. Now, you'll see in the body, there's space for actually 3 main points. Oh, one thing I didn't tell you. The summary statement is really just a restatement. I think I maybe did say it's really just a restatement of your thematic statement. Okay, so you're just going to say that again. Because it's a summary, right? Okay, so the body has main points. Now, in any given speech, it's 2 to 5, meaning no less than 2, no more than 5. Okay. You're going to use 3 in your speech. Now, any questions here about the parts of the speech? What you are going to do, everybody have these 3 parts?
Question. A speech is kind of like an essay, correct?
Kinda, but no, it's not. And definitely we're not going to read the information to anyone. Because an essay is an essay and a speech is a speech. But in terms of having a structure where there's a thematic statement or central idea, we call it in public speaking, yes. Yes, it does. And as far as more like a research paper, okay. But not exactly, because it's not the same thing at all in terms of delivery, and as well as total development of it. It's similar, but not exactly the same. Okay. Any other question? Everybody understand these 3 parts and how they relate to this document? And this is what you're going to have next week for your outline, right? Nobody is going to write on this paper, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where can we find that document at?
Okay, so remember when we went to week 1
Oh.
folder, the week
Mhm.
1 folder, in there, coming down, there's a folder always every week that has all of the exercises and all of the handouts. There's a list of them as well as the actual attachments. So you'll find everything there. And afterwards, I'll stay, if people want to go over how do we go into the Blackboard again, we can do that again after class.
So don't write on it. Do
Hmm.
you want us to, don't write on it, but do you want us to
Right.
type everything out?
Yes, typed. Everything has to be typed. Yes, typed. Okay. So your outline is going to look like this. You're going to say introduction, just like it is here, right? And then you're going to actually type what is your, and you might ask the group a question. You might say a quote. Okay. Give a joke, tell a funny story, or this is a story in general, anecdotes. Okay. Then you're going to tell us, you're going to preview the message. What are you going to talk about? And I'm going to give you that today. Okay. So everybody, make sure you write this down for your topics. Now I'm going to let you pick from one of 3. So your speech is going to be next week. Everybody is going to have this, one of these 3 topics, okay? My most, and then here's where you pick. Rewarding or challenging or embarrassing. Experience is or was, and then you tell us what it is. Okay, not finished yet, because And now you're going to tell us 3 reasons why it is either rewarding or challenging or embarrassing. Now, every semester I have a student that decides they're going to make all 3. Don't do that. Okay, select one experience and then give us 3 reasons why. Now, here's an example. So say I'm going to select for my speech, my most rewarding experience was having my child because it brought me joy, because made me more responsible, and they gave me unconditional love. Okay. Now, these 3 reasons become your 3 main ideas. Okay. But you're going to write them out in full sentences because that is a requirement in speech preparation for preparation outlines. We'll talk about this all in detail more. But for right now, all you need to know is that these 3 reasons become your 3 main points. And then under there, you're going to tell us why. Okay. The first reason why having my child was so rewarding to me is because it brought me joy. And now I'm going to add a sentence or 2 that supports that statement. Okay. My child brings me joy every time I smile at her and she smiles right back. And you're going to do the same thing for main point number 2, the same point for main point number 3. Okay. Everybody got it? Now we select this first speech without having a lot of knowledge because who knows better about you than you, right? You're the expert. No research required, right? You know all about you. So, do you have any questions? Now, in the lessons folder, not lessons folder, in the course info folder, I showed you down the bottom where it had rubrics, right? There's also something called public speaking. You want to look at all those rubrics there. There's something called public speaking assignments. And you don't have to worry about it so much now because the main requirements, I'm telling you what they are. You're going to have those 3 main points. Remember about that. Okay, so your speech is 2 to 3 minutes next week. That means no less than 2 minutes and no more than 3. Okay, so that means you have to practice it, right? You have to know how long is the speech. Because what happens when it's time for us to get these graded speeches, if you go over or you're under, you're going to be graded that way. You're going to get points taken off for doing that. Because generally if and when you're asked to speak somewhere, there's a time limit. Okay. So for this speech, no less than 2 minutes, no more than 3. You'll be surprised how long 2 minutes can be. All right. Everything needs to be typed, and you'll see, go through the syllabus again. double spaced. It's very important. Okay, double spaced. I don't want to see it all crunched up together. Double spaced, because I'm going to write in between there comments. All right, so I want you to make sure that you double space everything and make sure you put your name on everything. Because even though you're submitting documents to me specifically in your folder, I generally have to print stuff out. So then once I print it, I need to make sure your name's on there. Okay, so make sure you put your name on there in the class that you're in. This class is CMN 11102, no, 100. This class, Monday is 100.
Professor, I have a question.
Sure.
You said the public speaking assignment, is this relating to this assignment that we typing up?
The public speaking assignments are really going to cover more information on your pet peeve speech, your informative speech, and your special occasion speech. So for this speech, it's not that important, but I do want you to know where that information is for the rest of the speeches.
Okay.
But basically all you need to know is what I told you for today for your speech. 2 to 3 minutes. Typed, double space. I want the full text in paragraph form. I want your outline as we discussed it today. And I want you to deliver it. Okay, no bibliographies required. All right. Okay, now let me just briefly tell you about the homework assignments and then we can get out of here. And I will stay, and I am going to have taped this class. So if you need to go back, you can review it. But give me maybe a day so I can, it can convert. Okay, so let's deal with the homework now. So you have 4 homework assignments. In this class, I believe they are due on the 27th. So the first homework assignment is called contacts. Contacts, and it looks like this. It's a worksheet. And what you're going to do is you are going to follow or track a minimum. You must have at least 5 communication efforts. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to rate these communication efforts on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, let me tell you how you are going to fill out this sheet. So you're not going to write on this, not enough room. This is going to be a type assignment. So right here where it says contact number, the first thing, contact number. Okay. That's just the number of the communication effort. Communication effort number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. That's not somebody's phone number. Okay. Sometimes students write that, a phone number. That's just,
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I actually was like,
Yeah,
do I really write their number?
2, right. Just that's the communication effort number. Okay. Communication effort number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You have to have a minimum of 5. You want to do more? Fine. But no less than 5. Now, second on here is the nature of the name of the person. Okay. So don't just say Sally or Jim. Okay. So let me use the example. I called the Verizon store and spoke to the representative, Sandy. So Sandy, the Verizon representative, okay? Carol, my friend. Anthony, my brother. Okay, so make sure we know who it is you are communicating with. So it's not just a name. Don't just put Sue. We don't know who is Sue. Okay, so then next is the nature of the communication. Why did you have this effort? So for my example, it would be called Verizon to correct an error in my telephone bill. That's the purpose of the communication. I want to fix this error in my telephone bill. Then number 4, the context or the environment. How did you communicate? Was it face-to-face? Was it a text message? Internet chat? I wrote a letter. We spoke on the phone. What was the nature of the community? I mean, the context or the environment. How did you communicate? All right. And then the last one is your actual score. So it's from 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest, ineffective, nothing happened. I didn't get that bill fixed. It was terrible. And 5, excellent. They took it off my bill. I got a refund. It was wonderful. And she even wished me a happy day. Okay. So you tell us from 1 to 5, how do you rate it? Now you can't just tell us that. Tell us why it was a 4. What could you have done to improve upon the communication effort? Okay, it was just a 3. Why was it 3? Because I don't think she really understood. I don't think I understood. Tell me what each person could have done in that communication effort to have made it better. Okay. So definitely we don't have enough room in this paper, right? For all of that. So don't write on this paper. Now you can only have one rating of 5. That's it. All the rest of them have to be less. And don't forget, tell us why you rated it that way. Okay, next assignment is ethnocentricity versus cultural. Ethnocentrism versus relative cultural relativism. Okay, so now on this one, you're just going to go down the sheet that you're typing on and just say 1T or 1F for false, 1T for true, F for false. And then you can just briefly say, answer the question. All right, just brief. Couple words. Right, and there's 10, I think 10 of these. Right. Then on page 2, and you don't have to write the question out for the first part. Just say number 1, T or F, true or false. And a little commentary. Not a lot. Okay. Then there's questions down here. I think it's 6 of them at the bottom of the page. See those questions? Make sure you answered all of those questions. Okay. That's that homework assignment. And then the third one, personalities. This is a fun one. Okay, so just go through. You can write right on this paper. This is one document that you can write right on the paper. Okay, and it's several pages. And at the end, you will be able to determine what's your personality. Okay, you can write right on this. And then the last one is the listening evaluation, the listening quiz. And this one will tell you what a good listener you are or what a poor listener you are. Okay. And again, you can write right on this. Now, each one of these assignments has a submission folder, it has directions, and it tells you what I just told you. Except for all that information I gave you on the contacts. It's written on the document, okay, but I did add that not only do you rate 1 to 5, but tell us why and what you could do to improve. Okay. Are there any questions? Yes.
Yes. For the papers that we could write on, just take a picture and then submit it inside the file. That's what-
Take a picture. You said, well, I want you had to scan it. Now, if you take a picture of your document, right, because you can't scan for some reason, and you take a picture of it, make certain that I can see everything on it, right? Because sometimes students take pictures and fingers in front, all kinds of, like, no, don't submit anything like that, okay?
Okay.
But it will be best if you could just, you type your document, save it, right? And then go to the submission folder and upload it. That's better.
No, I was asking for the ones that we could write on. The last two assignments that you were just talking about rating yourself and those two. You could write on those. But how would
you would scan it.
Okay.
And then submit it.
Okay.
But if for some reason you don't have a scanner, you have, problems with that, you have to take a picture of it, that's okay, but make sure that it's legible for me, okay? Like, make sure it's not cut off or anything like that. I prefer that you scan the documents and upload them. If for some reason you just can't do that, then we could do it another way. And for your speeches, that's not gonna be good at all for speeches. But yeah, for the documents that you want to just write on, if you can't scan it, you can take a picture. No emails assignments to me. None. 0. I can't use it because you have to submit it through the submission folder so that I can give you your grade that way. And then it adds up all the grades at the end. So you have to go through that. As well, they don't really want us saving these documents in our own personal files. Like, stuff is saved in that learning system. Your documents are stored there. Okay. Any other question? I know we covered a lot today. Again, I am going to make this tape available. And if you want to email me, later on you come up with a question that you didn't think of today, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to help you out.
I have a comment. I don't know if anybody has an iPhone, but if you do, you can actually go on notes and then press on new note and press options. It's gonna say like scan document, and it can make it into a scanned document, so you can submit it and you can email it to yourself. So like, for example, I'd rather just show you guys, so then like in case anybody has like a question, I guess, about it. All right, so you go like right here, and then like the option on the top right there, if you right here on the little camera, it says scan document, and like let's say you take a picture, it's gonna let you adjust into what I want to scan, and then you could keep scan, and then it's gonna save it. I've done it from many homeworks, that's why. So just if
Okay,
anybody
we learned
needs to
something
know.
new. I did learn
Thank
something
you, Ruben.
about my
Thank
iPhone.
No
you.
problem.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ruben.
No
I
problem.
have a suggestion to, I use an app, the name is Scam Scanner. You can take a picture also like Ruben was explaining right now, and you can make the same step and you can keep the photo in your album and you can send like if you have a printer.
Good, good. Communications works. All righty, that's it for today. We're 2 minutes early. Any questions? I'll stay back if anybody wants to talk to me afterwards. So have a great week, and I will
You
see you
too.
next Monday. Can't wait for those speeches.
Have a great week and a great weekend,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a great week, everyone.
Okay, I do
guys.
have a question. I'll just stay real quick.
Mhm. Go ahead, I'm listening.
For the essay, I guess I may not have understood on what was the requirement. I do know that you want it to be written down. Maybe like, cause like I'm new in the area to say like to write a speech, so I don't even know like how long it would need to be. Like 1 page, few
Okay,
paragraphs.
so wait. Okay, so let's start over. I gave you the requirements for how long it should be. 2 to 3 minutes. Now, Ruben, I noticed you said, oh, I got a question about the essay. There's no essays in this class. This is a
Okay,
speech
okay.
class, right? So
Okay.
it's your speech. All right. So don't get it confused now. That's your English class.
I
Yeah.
would also like
Speech.
take a note. Like you can write the speech and then set up your timer and be like how long your speech is. If you are too long or too short, then you know if you need to add more or take out less.
2
that's a
to
good
3
piece of
minutes.
advice.
That means no less than 2 minutes.
And no
No
more than 3
more
minutes.
than 3. Now I gave you your topic, okay? And I told you you need to have 3 main points in your topic. 3 main points,
Okay.
which is really the 3 reasons why. I erase it now. 3 reasons why you selected either rewarding experience, challenging experience, or embarrassing experience. Okay. And you want to elaborate on those reasons too. That's called your supporting material.
Got it.
But look at that outline that I gave you. This document.
Okay.
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 Now, in my other class, I had a few students ask me and say, Professor, how am I going to use a quote when I'm talking about myself? Well, I think they kind of took it a little literal, thinking that there's going to be a quote with their name on it. I don't know about that, but definitely you can find a quote that supports or, in some way introduces what you want to say, that relates to your topic. So yeah, you can find quotes, but quotes aren't the only types of attention-getting devices. I think they thought that too. Like, okay, that's the only type of attention-getting device. I gave you a handout with lots of different things. And I gave you some handouts on how to practice, okay, and things like that. What's etiquette and listening and things like that for the class. You can just take a look at some of those things for your own knowledge. Does that answer your question, Ruben?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You have a wonderful night.
You too, thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you tomorrow in class.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hello. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got one question.
Sure.
For the speech, like, are we doing it in Zoom? Like, we do it on Zoom, or do I like record myself and send it to you? Oh, okay.
No, we're gonna do our speeches in Zoom live.
Okay. Oh, so for the for it being written, do you want us to send that to you? Like, is there a submission for that, or do we
Oh
just?
yeah, that'll be the submission folder. Yes.
Okay. Where is it at, or do you have to put it in?
The submission folder for next week
It's in week 3, right?
is in week 2 because it's the week that it's due. So the submission folder for your informative speech is in week 2.
Okay.
But
All right.
go open those lessons and it tells you everything where stuff is.
Okay.
Usually the week that things are due is the week that it'll be in. So don't forget that I gave you that on your syllabus. It's a calendar and it has the dates on there of when is every calendar. Week
Oh, okay. Oh,
one,
yeah,
week
I've seen it.
2. Okay, and it has when all the speeches are due in there. And then remember, every week you have a agenda, right?
Yes.
An agenda will tell you every week what's due,
Okay.
when it's due.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great week.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Did you want to ask me something, Gabby? Are you still there? Okay, so we're getting off now. I'm signing off now, Gabby. I think you left and may have forgotten to turn off your computer.